I want personalization.
I want to know what problem of mine you're going to solve, and are you going to make our commercial team more successful?
All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Enablement Brew. I am Carly Lehner.
And I'm Malvina Alsaik, and we're so excited you're joining us today. And it feels like it's been ages since
It's been a long time.
ages. So I'm happy we have a new episode coming up, and I'm super excited about today's one. So, Harry, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Harry. I'm a commercial account executive here at SalesScreen, based in Oslo in Norway and from the southeast of England originally. I'm really happy to be here today.
Oh my gosh, how exciting. We'll touch on Norway in a little bit, but before we dive in,
Yeah.
standard question, what does everyone have in their mug?
I have a new mug. I don't know if I've shown this. This is the Harry Potter Le Creuset mug. So very
Ooh.
bougie of me, but also very nerdy of me. But I have English breakfast tea. So pretty standard breakfast brew for
With
me
milk.
today. Oat milk and a little bit of sugar. Yeah.
Yum. Harry?
Yeah.
Very nice, Carly. And I hope the milk doesn't go in when the tea bag is in there, or there could be
Absolutely
some.
not.
Good. Okay, there
No.
could have been some comments in the comment
Yeah.
section about that. I have black coffee in a mug I brought in especially from home today, my Marmite mug. You either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
Potentially similar to my sales, the way I do sales. You either love it or you hate it. But yeah,
Where's everyone on Marmite? Harry,
I
I
love
I've never had
Marmite,
it.
obviously. You've not had it. Okay, that's a
hate it.
Yeah.
good gift for you. You hate it, Malvina. Okay. I
Like
think
we have all the whole spectrum. We have a love it, a hate it, and have never had it.
yeah.
The
Well,
thing
So
is,
if
yeah.
I think we grow up with it in England, you see, so we grow up with it, so we like it. They have brown cheese in Norway, which the kids absolutely love and the adults love. But I tried it and it's pretty horrible. But again, we'll get some negative comments there from Norwegian listeners about that.
what is brown cheese?
Yeah, it's like I'll have to send some details over. It's literally brown cheese and it's kind of sweet tasting. So yeah, it's a bit different than normal cheese. So
Hmm.
Oh
All
my,
right.
interesting.
Interesting.
Interesting. And then there's Vegemite. Have you had Vegemite? I guess that's in
I
Australia.
have, yeah. So it's not the same, unfortunately, but yeah, it's not Australian, isn't it? So
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, should we dive into it?
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's.
So Harry, tell us a bit about obviously you said you're from the southeast of England and now you're in Norway. So tell us a little bit about that journey first, and then we can dive into the fun stuff about SalesScreen.
yeah, for sure. I guess from like a work background after university, I didn't do great in university. I went into sales and I worked in B2C insurance, started in an outbound call center, and then moved into an insurance brokerage after that. And whilst in the year after university, I met my partner who is Norwegian. She was studying in the UK. So a lot of Norwegians end up influencing British people to move to Norway. So that's what happened. For three, I think maybe 5 years later, I moved over here just before Brexit. So I've been in Norway now, over 3 years. So
Love.
Wow.
yeah. And then, yeah, so when I moved over here, I didn't speak the language, and trying to find work basically with experience in sales, but you can't sell insurance here if you don't speak fluent Norwegian. So that was always going to be a struggle. So I ended up working as a landscape gardener for a season, which I think prepared me very nicely for working as an SDR here at SalesScreen in the first year. I think there's some similarities between, the grind of mixing 20 bags of cement and carrying, shoveling and building all day, similar to making cold calls and trying to prospect as well. So yeah, and then I've been one of the first SDRs at SalesScreen, and then now worked as a account executive for just over a year now.
Wow, that's an incredible story.
Is it? I don't know. I mean,
You have the grit, you're living in a different country that speaks a completely different language, which isn't very similar to anything that I guess I know of.
Yeah.
So it is
It's,
quite unique.
yeah, it's probably worth saying everyone speaks really good English over here. But I am learning Norwegian, so should be better by now. I've been here 3.5 years, but I can get through a conversation just about.
Can you order your coffee in Norwegian? That's the question.
I can, and fun fact about Norway, it's one of the highest per capita consumers of coffee in the world.
That's
I
So
did not know that.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So we love our coffee over here, and normally we have it black coffee, which as I'm drinking today.
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, SalesScreen. Harry, tell us, is enablement your go-to persona when you're pitching SalesScreen?
I mean, enablement is definitely involved in the sales cycle, and there's some benefits we can give to that department with what we do. I say often the process starts with your kind of more sales managers, sales leaders, rather than the enablement side. But we love it when we can get people from sales enablement into demos and into meetings, because we can show how we can impact their day to day, and they're the best people to have involved when you're bringing in a new software to a business. So it's always something I try and do is get the sales leaders to bring in enablement to the process of evaluating SalesScreen every time.
All right. So, what's the SalesScreen pitch? Why should someone care?
Here we go. So yeah, so SalesScreen is a gamification tool. And to put it really simply, we help companies to motivate and engage their employees to do behaviors and actions that they want them to do. So for example, with enablement, you may bring in a new process. You may want the team to follow a particular sales methodology, or even just do the training you've set up for them in like a platform like Lessonly or a learning management system. And for sales leaders, it could be, more outbound prospecting, asking for referrals from new customers. These are kind of the behaviors you all know will help your team to succeed. But in reality, it's actually really difficult to get people to do things you want them to do. And that's where we come in. So, I mean, some of the main challenges we find with, motivating behaviors in people is you often have a lot of different personalities in your team. So you may have one person who, they always want to be on top of the leaderboard. That's, extrinsic motivators, or they want to win the prize. But then you're going to have the more kind of introverted or intrinsic motivators for people who actually, they don't care if they're top or not. They want to win for themselves. They want to hit their targets, for example. And then, looking at both of your companies, you've got rapid growth. It's hard to, managers will have less capacity to have kind of those one-to-ones with staff to kind of follow up on training and get them to do things you want to do as well. And then another challenge is with remote and hybrid working. So again, there's less kind of frequent feedback and frequent follow-up from managers, because you're not in person. You have to do that via, Slack or like a Zoom meeting, for example. So we help to solve those challenges in behavior change using gamification, which I can talk more about today if you like, kind of what that is and how it works. And then we also have something called Sales Surround, which is a way where people are at home, they can be engaged in what's going on and get recognition and be engaged as to like if you've got competitions running or whatever's happening within the business when they're at home, not just in the office with the screens you can probably see behind me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, another key area we're helping with now is the recognition of staff. So like, for instance, Gallup released that the number one reason people leave work is that they don't feel recognized, and that 59% of employees say they've never felt appreciated by the senior leadership or even their boss. So we help to automate that and make that more frequent, make people happier and do what you want them to do.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So
do you want a demo, Carly, or no?
Well, I mean, I can see the screen behind you, which I really like that. The only question, I mean, initial challenge that I can think about is a lot of companies have gone full remote or even hybrid. So you mentioned the sales surround. So how does that work for me if I'm an SDR sitting at home? How do I stay engaged with what's happening on the sales screen?
So yeah, the name we made 10 years ago when the company was built, and it was where we were replacing whiteboards in like contact centers with the screens.
Yep.
And as you can imagine, we have been helping business with remote employees the last couple of years mainly. So we have a mobile app as well, and we have a laptop app. So if you think of a normal SDR, they're working from home. They're working really hard to book meetings. When they book a meeting, they're probably pushing that into Slack and they're getting recognition there. We also are able to recognize not just the end goal, but behaviors getting to that goal. So basically we have integrations with your CRM, with sales engagement platform like Outreach or Sales Loft, LMS platform, so that when they do their job through those systems, it's automatically shared via the mobile app and the laptop app. So when they're at home, they're getting push notifications. Oh, your colleague has booked a meeting with so-and-so. Oh, I can go in and give them recognition. Or your manager's just started a call blitz, and you can keep up to date live where you are in the leaderboard from home, not just when you're in the office.
Very cool.
How do you tackle that objection of like, and we spoke about this on previous episodes of over tooling, right? And
yeah,
thinking of an objection that could probably come up time and time again is like, well, we have, Salesforce, or we're using another CRM. We have invested so much time in building out all these dashboards so everyone can see where they are, in the ranking in terms of activities, calls, meetings booked, deals that you've won, and so on and so forth. And then this is yet another tool that's going to show me the same things. How do you handle that objection?
Yeah, so there's definitely overlap with some kind of dashboards and things like that. The main areas we stand out there is that it's not only with dashboards, but it's competitions. We've got gamification, achievements where you can be rewarded for getting to 50% of your goal, 75%, 100%, 25%, or even, getting 100% pass rate on a Lessonly learning course, for example. So it's not just the dashboards that we have. It's the whole competition gamification aspect that really engages people rather than just seeing where they are in a leaderboard, for example. But the main thing where I do often, and I think anyone selling software will get that objection of, oh, we've got so many tools, why do we need this? Like, are the team going to feel drowned in all these tools? The difference with us is we're what we would term like an endpoint. So we're not actually an area where they have to add in any kind of work. We react from the other systems. So interestingly, some companies come to us because they want to increase adoption of the CRM, or like I said, increase the usage of an LMS platform, because we're motivating people to use those systems in the right way. Because if they do, that's when they win their prizes. That's when they win the competition. They get that reward, the dopamine hit from there. So we're kind of like a perfect addition to, for instance, your Salesforce and SalesLoft, because we're sitting outside of that, but reacting to all the work these people are doing from those systems, basically.
Yeah, I can see why this could be really helpful. I especially I just always think about SDRs because like a lot of the SDRs in organizations are fairly junior, right? Fairly entry level, or a couple years in their careers. And if you're working remotely, that's like it's a tough, I think it's the hardest job to do remotely, personally. And so if there's a way that you can gamify and make that job more interesting and more fun and engaging, I think it's a really interesting approach. So what do you find enablement involvement? So you mentioned that they're sometimes involved and they're a good stakeholder to have. Like what does enablement care about in the sales process with you guys? Like what are you finding that you're speaking to them about?
So I guess there's a few areas. I think a lot of obviously you're the expert, so from my experience, a lot of enablement's role is to make sure that bringing this type of tool in will fit in with what all the other strategies you have. So that's very useful to be able to, make sure that implementation process is really smooth and it's going to fit in with what you have in there. But from kind of a challenge solving point of view, definitely we've been moving towards like we've recently released an integration with Seismic and Lessonly in the last 6 months. So we're going to be adding more kind of learning systems to SalesScreen. We also have a coaching platform. So we found that, a lot of coaching sessions can be not as impactful because people aren't prepared. They don't have all of their sales numbers in the same place. So they have, paper notes from the last session, sales numbers, and we're able to bring that all into SalesScreen. So not only with gamification and competitions, we also have coaching in the system as well. So I guess, the main challenges are, like I said at the start, motivating people to actually use those systems and implement the methodologies you want to see, whether that's like following Medic, bringing in executive alignment, because we're able to pull that in from the CRM or add it into SalesScreen. You can then bring that visibility up. Oh, the top performer is the one who's bringing in the executives. The top performer is the one who's always booked a follow-up meeting. And for an SDR, it's really, again, kind of showcasing what the top performers are doing so they can then level up to get up there as well. So I keep repeating myself, but mainly the behavior, getting people to do what you want, but also use those tools that you bring in and, all the work you guys spend in coming up with training courses and getting people to try and get better in sales, actually motivate them to use them and implement them in real life.
Harry, maybe this is a little bit of a psychological question, but what do you think motivates people? Is it that people live for the dashboard? They live to be at the top of that ranking? Do you think that's true for everyone? Because we're talking about driving behavior, right? And driving the right behavior. Do you think everyone is motivated by the same type of thing?
Definitely not. And it's a key challenge for most company leaders or people, managers, is to be able to adapt for different types of people. And there's both psychological and physiological ways of motivating people, with some people are, like you say, more extrinsically motivated. They want to win the prize. They want the recognition. Some people, they want to actually just get to their own targets for themselves. And then you have people who are kind of more team orientated. So for example, we've got, a rep in here as an example who, if you run a competition, he doesn't care. If it's him versus everyone else, he doesn't care. But as soon as you put him with someone else, he doesn't want to let that person down. So then you'll see the activity levels increase, the engagement increase. So it's about, as leaders, finding ways to motivate different types of people is a key challenge. Yeah.
And it's interesting, right? I think I read an article about this a few years ago. Like, you have people who will want to be those top performers, but then you will have people who are very happy and comfortable being in the middle and just like bouncing in that middle stage, right?
Yeah.
But you mentioned an interesting point when it's me against everyone else, where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll put that effort in, right? But if it's me and a team versus everyone else, then I'm like, you're right. Part of that is I don't want to let my teammate or my team down. So it's finding ways in which you can really use it creatively to actually tap into what motivates or maybe what drives, each individual person.
Yeah, definitely. And then adding on another, area on top of that is the kind of level of the team. So you have, in most sales teams, you have your top 10% performers that are, always hitting their targets, going over their targets. And then you'll have your kind of middle 60% of performers where, like you say, they're happy to kind of be in the middle. And then obviously you have kind of the bottom 20%, for example. What we've interestingly found is that we did a study. We've got a lot of data in SalesScreen because we have companies running over 10,000 competitions a year in SalesScreen. So we're able to basically analyze it and see what works and who is impacted most by those, and then give that advice to our customers, of course. But what we found is that actually the biggest impact in performance increase was from the middle and bottom performers. So the top performers, we still got a overall 17% uplift in performance, but the biggest increase was middle, which was 45%. And this is in the targeted KPI from the competition. So an easy example could be making phone calls. So we saw 45% for middle and 80% increase for bottom performers. So those are kind of the key yes, we're going to help you to get a little bit more from top performers, but the biggest gap in revenue for most teams is actually the middle and bottom performers, which I'm sure is relatable in enablement as well, where you're really trying to get more from those kind of, obviously not, in that kind of
that's
sector.
definitely like when we think about how can we move the needle as an organization, it's not even the like upper middle, like the above average reps. Like, yes, if we get them to quota, it's not a huge jump. It's the average player to below average player. You can probably argue that there's always going to be a bottom tier rep that doesn't want to improve, that's maybe disengaged. I think this can help probably engage them. But if this isn't helping, it's probably not a right fit. But if there's that other like quartile, I think that if you can even improve their performance by 5 to 10%, that's still a meaningful increase. So when you're telling me 45 to 80%, depending on what bucket you fell in, like that to me is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and that's on the targeted activity in that particular competition. So it's, well, amongst the other things I've said today, it's very hard sometimes to pitch SalesScreen because there is so many avenues you can kind of go to. But one of them is the instant impact you can have. So you can set up a competition in minutes, so you can get that 45% increase like that wherever the team is. So that's another side of it. But I'll stop being so salesy. That's probably not coming off too great.
Yeah, I think another thing to remember with this, and I think this goes for any kind of like tool that you bring on, is consistency, right? Because so many of us get so excited when we bring a new piece of tech on board.
Yeah.
It's maintaining that consistency, right? Because let's face it, one competition isn't going to change behaviors. It has to be consistent. So it can't be, it's not a one-hit wonder, right? You need to make sure you have that consistency and that discipline internally to actually use it to drive those behaviors.
Yeah, it's so important for us as a business to have champions in the company. So for us, it could be your SDR managers, your sales enablement manager, your sales managers, so that they're driving the competitions. But alongside that, we have the other automated gamification element. So when there's no competitions running, people are still engaged and getting that motivation as well. But yeah, it's so important to have that ongoing business champions, we term them, who are going to be kind of using the system day to day.
Love it.
So I have a question, and maybe this is a serendipitous moment because my friend and co-host Malvina works at a company called ReachDesk. And so when I'm hearing SalesScreen, I'm thinking, wow, like if I'm winning a competition or I'm acquiring points or badges, that could be an excellent trigger for some type of reward. And ReachDesk is a great gifting, but also can be a great rewards platform. I'm thinking ReachDesk for People that just came out. I literally have it in my inbox from ReachDesk. But so like, Harry, has SalesScreen kind of thought about like what's the next step beyond gamification and like rewards, and how can you maybe connect with some of these other tools out there that can easily deliver that for reps?
Yeah, it's a great point. We have it's something that came up. Now we're bringing in more and more enterprise businesses, so it's like a big lift for them to kind of get these prizes for people. Like a big part of the lift is like the admin behind sourcing gifts and sending it to people. So we do have an integration with like a gift card provider, so that can reduce some of that admin. We do have in SalesScreen a coin system. So instead of having to give away prizes, you can give away coins. So that means people can save up coins to buy a gift they really want. We definitely don't have like a system like ReachDesk where we can send personalized gifts and things to people. And I'm a big fan of ReachDesk. So there's definitely like partnership potential there, isn't there? So
yeah, let's get the product and partnerships team together, you guys. I think that could be really cool.
Match made.
Yeah.
And I love the new people, that avenue. I guess it's tying into what I mentioned about the recognition, and those crazy stats, and the great resignation and all these kind of things going on.
And you go on Glassdoor, everyone does it. Everyone goes on Glassdoor, checks their previous or current employer, right? Sees what other people are saying. And to your point, Harry, a lot of the comments I see from other companies, like no recognition, management doesn't care, no one tells you, you've done a good job. No one kind of pushes you to be the better version of yourself in the workplace. So, definitely a lot of value there.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily those companies' faults or the leaders' faults or the managers' faults. They might just not have the capacity to do it, and that's where obviously we can come in, or Reach Desk people can come in selling that for you.
I think there's a match made in heaven there.
Yeah.
Because I think Reach Desk misses that gamification part, Harry, that you guys do so well. But then like how can we like give a gift for accumulating all of your points or coins or whatever, and like win like the coveted swag or something like that. So I mean, we at Andela, one of the things we do an employee NPS survey every month.
Yeah.
And the feedback consistently was that they felt like recognition wasn't really a thing at Andela. So we've kind of worked on that. And it is amazing how much that changes the engagement, and our eNPS scores went up just by focusing on a recognition program. So yeah. I think there's obviously tons of data out there, but just like from my personal experience, it makes a huge difference. I give out points every week to top performers. So I think it's a really important thing that companies should focus on, especially if they're remote first, which we are. It's a really good way to keep employees engaged in their job and in their company.
Because you're fully remote, Carly, right? And Andela's fully
fully remote. Yeah, we don't have any offices. Yeah.
Incredible. Awesome. Well, I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, this was a good episode.
So
yeah.
This was fun. Awesome. Harry, thank you so much for coming on. Pitch Please, the Enablement Brew. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that? What's the best way?
LinkedIn's best. So Harry Hindess at SalesScreen on LinkedIn. And just add me on there and we can connect and continue the conversation.
Awesome. Well, for everyone tuning in, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you soon for a brand new episode. Bye.
Bye.